Whew, we made it back in one piece, just. To be perfectly honest, I thought we were finished there for a while. That's true of everything we do, though. Oh, I know, what a lot of close shaves. There are you'd think eventually they'd get used to it, right? Like this constant, just endless struggling that occurs. To be fair, this one's further back in time, but still. There are so many carriages on the streets of London, you were very nearly flattened several times. Oh, no, I didn't mean that. Yes, I know. It was a marvelous defense, Naruhodo-san. It really was. I was in awe of you. Oh, thank you. And now that your fervent exploits have won us some more precious investigation time, let's see if we can't find some new clues. Yes, let's do that. Is everything alright? I suppose I still can't believe it, that's all. That I'm here in England working as a lawyer, I mean. In the Old Bailey, no less. The truth is, it shouldn't be me, should it? It should be him standing in my shoes. It should be Kazuma. It was Kazuma-sama's wish that you follow him to Great Britain and work alongside him. Yes, I mean, I never had the chance to ask him exactly why, but he clearly had a plan. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him. And you're doing wonderfully, Naruhodo-san. I've no doubt Kazuma-sama would say exactly the same if he were here. Thank you, Sosato-san. Thank you. Alright, lads. Let's go. I suppose we should go to Shamspeare's room, right? Oh, hello again, Inspector. What are you doing here? Well, we were hoping to have another look around. The lawyer representing the defendant has a right to examine the scene, as I'm sure you're aware. Yeah, I know the score. Oh yes, one other thing. The soap on the ledge outside the window. Did you find it? Yeah, we found it alright. And there was a small amount of tea in it, as you said. Fantastic. It's with the identification section of the yard now. They're looking into it. The results should be available later today. That's wonderful news, thank you. Pretty impressive performance in court this morning. Sorry. Nothing. Forget it. Just make sure you don't disturb anything. Wait, what the fuck is this? What's going on down here? I guess I can't Yo, that looks so fucking out of place. It's like the scene in the back of the cartoon that you know is gonna move. So this soap's over here now. So it turns out Shamspeare wasn't eating the soap at all. I am disappointed to find out he didn't do anything to the pipes, because I mean, look at this fucking weld line on it. That's right, the mystery of why he had it on a plate whilst holding a fork. Yes, to prize his latest ice coin. And in the process, he accidentally broke the bar of soap. Oh, excuse me, sorry. It certainly was hard to imagine, let alone deduce. Alright, what's in the cup? The ill-fated teacups where the two men drank from on the ill-fated night. During their heated literary debate, yes. Who's stronger, Romeo or Juliet? Sounds like it was quite a discussion. Now I think of it, I'm sure that the two lovers in the play ended their lives with poison. It is just fiction, but, you know, it does connect through, doesn't it? Now... Oh, we're here. There's not much on the shelves, is there? Just this wine glass and bottle. And both of them are cracked. Yeah, not much use, are they? What's the matter? Oh, I was just reminded of the Reaper, that's all. Prosecutor von Zykes. Yes, he's so reckless with his wine glasses. I was thinking it's a waste and that he should donate some to the needy. You can suggest it next time we meet. If you ran out of change, you wouldn't even have any heat, let alone light. For the needy, London's winters can be very harsh. That's true, but if you think about it, even the wealthy would find themselves freezing if they ran out of small change. London's winters can be harsh for the forgetful too, then. Frankly, I'm starting to wonder if Sosato-san and I are going to make it till spring. That's true, we don't even have a meter at Baker Street, let alone a gas stove. Look how dark the stain on the floor is underneath the meter there. Yes, from all the water dripping out from under the ice, from after the ice coins melted, as you established in court. It's a very large and obvious stain, isn't it? Mr. Shamspeare must have used an awful lot of ice coins, I suppose. It was an ingenious idea, I'll give him that. I do have to respect the raw criminal genius, to be honest. The sun never shines in this room, thanks to that depressing bricked-up window. Yet with enough determination, you can always remove the bricks to get some soap outside. That sounds like a very wise life lesson. Only if you plan to follow a life of crime. Well, maybe I do, you don't know. Don't put Ryu in a box. This did not really move very much when I clicked on that. This is some sort of makeshift stage, I think, isn't it? Where does the audience sit, though, for the nightly Shakespeare performances? Actors aspiring to the great stage must practice their art, Naruhodo, with or without an audience. In fact, on a related note, perhaps you should set up a mock bench for your defense in the office. What? Then you could practice your arts every single day. I enjoy the idea of having, like, a legal muscle that just gets bigger the more you work out. I'll think about it if you promise to don a beard and play the judge. Well, if that would help you achieve your goal, this I have to see. So what else are we looking for in here, really? Not exactly, no, I didn't want to click on that. Oh, this. This is a gas wall light, isn't it? Must be connected to the gas pipe in the wall. Gas stove, gas lights. London really is a city of gas. But now that I think about it, Mr. and Mr. Gary had an open fire on the top floor, didn't they? Oh yes, you're right. I don't recall seeing a gas stove up there. Well, I much prefer a real fire anyway. It's cozier. What a fucking nerd. I guess we'll just talk to you. Are you looking for new clues, Inspector? On Lord Van Zuyck's orders, yeah. Don't come back till you got something for me, he says. Oh dear, poor you. Yeah, poor me, because we've already searched every bleeding nook and cranny in this place. I don't know what he expects, to be honest. Thank goodness for warm chips is all I can say. Well, at least he's honest. Alright, we've learned supremely little from coming here. Let's go somewhere else. Let's go and see how Natsume's doing. Okay, let's go to Gary's room. Mr. Gary appears to be out. Oh well, I suppose we'll just have to come back later. We don't want to do some snooping, perhaps? Though the room appears to be, exactly the same. Damn it, just shot down, just like that. Fine. Then let's go check Briar Road. Were these always broken? Slant, yeah. Okay, never mind. Alright, I wasn't really expecting much to come out of that. Let's go to Sholmes' suite. Oh, Rudo and Susie. Hooray, you're back. Hello, Iris. You're in fine spirits as always, I see. I am, and you look as immaculately presented as ever, Susie. Oh, you flatter me. Well, you couldn't have come back at a better time. I've just made a pot of tea. I'll set some cups. Really? Thanks, Iris. What is that foul smell? Aha! The Wanderers return at last. Where on earth have you pair been? We've been in court? Oh, for Mr. Mustache's case. That was today, was it? I'm sure I mentioned it only yesterday, Sholmes. I'm sure you think you did. Well, we can laugh about it now. So tell me, how did the trial go? Reasonably well so far. We've managed to escape without a guilty verdict, at least. Really? I would have liked to see it. And I must pass the time of day with Mr. Reaper again. It's been too long. Is Lord Van Zykes an acquaintance, Sholmes? Naturally. There's not a person in the world who doesn't know my name, Mr. Naruhodo. Not quite what I asked, but... Sholmes, whatever is that odor? Yes, what is it? It's faint, but absolutely awful. Ah, indeed, that's the scent of victory, my dear fellows. Victory in science. Oh dear. Alright, what's he up to now? Let's go and what you up to, Sholmes? So, what is that indescribably foul smell? Ah, well, most probably this, I would say. What is that? My dear fellow, it is, of course, my latest invention. A chemical test that can identify whether or not a tea is genuine at the drop of some tea. This is going to be weirdly specifically useful, I take it. There are some unscrupulous sorts manning the stalls along some of London's less frequented streets. They regularly sell what purports to be high-quality tea, but is in fact merely dyed leaves of drab flavor. Well, that's certainly unsavory behavior. So one is when presented with what appears to be black tea, one must be careful. Iris? At the ready, Hurley. Let us add a drop of my chemical to this cup of tea here. Do you see what happens? It turned completely black. And what a foul odor it's giving off. Indeed, the blacker the tea becomes, the more foul the odor, the better the tea is. It would appear that this cup was a particularly fine Darjeeling. That's very ingenious, but what do you want to do with that black liquid now? Why, dispose of it, naturally. Surely you wouldn't like to drink it. Unless... There does seem to be a rather obvious problem with your invention, Sholmes. Hence why this chemical test is merely a test, my dear madam. Right. The point is, we are entering a new era of science, in the world of criminal investigation, also. Yes, forensic science. Oh, these are such exciting times. I regularly engage in this scientific experimentation alongside my unofficial consulting detective work. The Herlock-Sholmes method will be the foundation upon which modern investigative technique is based, of course. This little tea indicant was a happy byproduct of my ongoing forensic science research. Forensic science, I suppose. Ah, yes. We are in the past. We're too stupid to know what that is. But first, Van Zykes. Lord Barock Van Zykes. Yes, he's an interesting sobriquet. It's an interesting sobriquet he has, isn't it? Fucking old-timey English. The Reaper of the Bailey. Once the legendary prosecutor has fought for someone's conviction, that person is doomed. Even if he or she is found not guilty by the courts, sooner or later, the hapless soul will vanish from the capital. But vanish how exactly? Vanishing is not the same as dying. By falling under a passing carriage, or drowning in the Thames, or succumbing to a sudden fever, or, quite out of the blue, being set upon by a highwayman. So, you did mean die. Why say vanish, then? There are numerous routes to one's final terminus, my dear fellow. It all seems a little far-fetched, really. Well, on the bright side, Mr. Moustache is fighting fit, for the time being at least. That's not overly reassuring. If the rumors are true, though, the obvious conclusion would surely be that those acquitted are, well, by Lord Van Zykes' own hand. As it happens, Mr. Sato, it is quite impossible. Oh? Why? Naturally, the man very quickly came under such suspicion. However, whenever these incidents occurred, the Reaper always had a cast-iron alibi. Really? And so his reign continued, but 5 years ago, He vanished from the courts, never to appear as a prosecutor again. That is, until you arrived in the country, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, so I've heard. In fact, it was the very day I arrived when I was thrust into that trial. That bitter fight to the death coincided with the Reaper's resurrection, and really did end bitterly indeed. And here you are, facing Mr. Reaper again. Poor Runa, I don't know if you're just incredibly unlucky, or incredibly unlikable. Hey! I think it's deeper than just me. I sense a general loathing of all Japanese people. By the way, I would like to point out, just because my man had a cast iron alibi doesn't mean it wasn't all fabricated anyway. I would say that most of the people we've seen had pretty convincing evidence they weren't guilty, but they were. With Mr. Natsume, who I'm currently defending, being Japanese, as well as Mr. Sato and myself, I felt it even more keenly in court today. For some reason, Lord Van Zyke seems to have an inherent disdain of the Japanese. Indeed, it is an interesting observation. Do you know something about it? Do you, Sholmes? It was about 10 years ago that Barak Van Zykes chose to enter the legal profession. However, before that time, the young man's closest companion hailed from the Empire of Japan. No, I figured. Tell us more, Sholmes. What happened? I believe I've made it clear before. I'm unable to tell you anything about the affair. Oh, but... the veil will be lifted on the events of the past in due course, I have no doubt. For now, however, it is Mr. Mustache who is the most deserving of your attention, I believe. So, your T-test, is that an example of forensic science? Indeed it is. An essential tool in cases that hinge on the knowledge of whether or not some tea is of high or inferior quality. Not a huge number of cases then, but I anticipate that probably in around 24 or so hours it'll be very useful. Perhaps a more practical example is required. Fingerprints? Not yet accepted in our courts as evidence, I might add. Really, we are dragging our heels there. I hadn't even heard of them until recently. Which is partly why I undertake research in this field myself, of course. Does that mean you're studying fingerprint, Sholmes? There are others in the field already, and I abhor the company of inferior minds. No, what I am researching is skin prints. Is there really a tangible difference there? A nomenclature of my own design. It is, as is this chemical agent that makes it possible. It instantly reveals objects touched by whichever person is under investigation. So, like, literally just fingerprints or black magic then, huh? Brilliant, Sholmes. As long as it doesn't turn everything completely odorous and black. I assure you, my dear fellows, you will witness my forensic talents in action very soon indeed. Well, I think we should get back to the scene and see if we can uncover more clues, even though we just came from there. That's the spirit, Runo. See you later. Yes, until later. No, Sholmes, we were thinking you'd come with us. You were? Yes, of course! You just said so moments ago. You said we'd witness your forensic talents. Ah, yes, I do recall saying something along those lines. But you go on ahead. I shall be sure to follow you later. In all likelihood. Probably. Maybe. Well, I might. Your commitment astounds me. Well, thank you, Sholmes. We'll eagerly await your arrival. Sholmes is not coming. Bye-bye, Runo. Bye, Susie. Alright, gang. I guess let's go back. Ah, you certainly got here quickly, didn't you? Why so non-committal if you were simply going to instant transmission your way here? Sholmes, what are you up to over there? What a question indeed. Was it not your good self who asked me to attend the scene? Oi! What are you doing here, Sholmes? What are you up to over there? What are you doing here? Dear me, once a great detective, one is always under scrutiny, it seems. Is now the time, Sholmes? Are you about to show us your forensic talents? With the greatest of pleasure, my dear madam. What's he gonna do? Okay. What's all this? All this is precisely what you requested, Mr. Naruhodo. Herlock Sholmes' essential skin print seeker gun. Moments ago, I took a sample from the teacup that was used by the victim. A sample from Shamspeare's cup. Each individual leaves microscopic secretions on everything he or she touches. A sample of those secretions is all I need to produce this. I guess not fingerprints then, but still. A refined indicator solution. By liberally spraying the room with this chemical, everything the victim touched is instantly revealed with the aid of these goggles. Here, try them on. There, now, spray the chemical indicator about and all will be revealed. Spray? How do I do that? A little press of space. I see. Ah, what is that stuff? It's like fog. A suspension of the chemical indicator in a pressurized gas. It is the most efficient way to cover a large area. There was another invention I discovered incidentally whilst I was developing this idea. As you do. Go ahead, try it, my dear fellow. We may learn something interesting. Well, there's nothing to lose, I hope. I suppose. Alright. Wall time. Yeah, huh? Okay. Like... Okay, there we go. He moved this box. But we got some more spraying to do. This picture? Look, there are dozens of handprints here. So there are, a great many indeed, so much so that it's hard to make out any one individual print, in fact. Brr, it sends a chill down my spine. Perhaps he was leaning against the wall while he admired this picture? Unlikely, I would say. It's a rather dull scene. And without wishing to state the obvious, you wouldn't generally admire a picture from such close quarters, I feel. Oh, very true. Bit of a mystery, then. Just guessing there's something hidden behind that. But let's give everything else a spray, just in case. Spray, spray. Mm-hmm. Alright. No. I wish to investigate it now. How do I take my goggles off? B? No. I simply wish to investigate that now. Perhaps I am yet to find something else I need to find. Perhaps not. Release me, so that I might investigate this. Ah, the plank. Oh, of course. I thought that plank stood out. That makes... Okay, I'm glad. A multitude of the victim's handprints. Why are there so many of them on the floor in this spot? Oh, perhaps he had a bad fall? Yeah, and he just couldn't get up. You know, he kept falling down again. I wonder. Personally, I often stumble when there's nothing obvious to trip over. I think that's something only a great detective would do. Well, this is quite a puzzle. Handprints all over the floor. The plank moves. Look at that boy. Well, we sprayed Sholmes' amazing skin print everywhere, didn't we? We did, but there are two places in particular that are of interest, I would say. The handprint on the floor there, and the one on the wall. What do you think he was doing here? Like, it didn't really look like he touched the frame that much. More just the walls on either side of it. So do you think he was listening at it, or there's a peephole there? Yes, and I think the floor warrants closer investigation. Ah! What is it, Mr. Sato? Look here, Mr. Naruhodo. One of the floorboards has popped out. You mean, it's a secret hiding place. Excellent work, Mr. Sato. What do we have in here? Oi, what are you lot doing? Inspector Gregson.
Stand aside right this minute. It's my job to investigate there.
No need, Inspector. You continue to dig into your portion of chips whilst we dig around under the floor.
Your fancy talk's putting me off my food anyway, Sholmes. A new bit of evidence is exactly what I need.
Wow, a secret hiding place. What a find. It's not a good hiding place. It's not a hiding place you could make use of in Japan. I don't think I could lift a straw to Tommy Map. No, I know, but I never expected one of these wooden floorboards to move either. It's got me wondering, what about the wall over there too? I'll investigate it once. Is there something behind it? There's nothing behind the picture, sadly. Only the wall. So he must have been listening at the wall, right? How disappointing. But then, how do you explain the handprints? I really can't think of anyone would have been leaning against it. There you are, a print for you. The photograph of the handprints. Oh, thank you very much. His invention can make prints too. Now then, I wonder if Inspector Gregson has found anything.
I'm desperate to know.
So am I. Gregson? Gregson, spill the beans. What's under the floor? I'd love to know if there's anything hidden beneath the floorboards. Allow me to ask Gregson now. After all, we're well acquainted. Inspector Gregson! Really? It's been too long.
What is it, Sholmes?
I thought perhaps you might show me what you found there, seeing as we are such good friends.
We're not friends.
No, I suppose not. A dismal failure. Yes, I heard. I'd kill to know what was under there.
Alright then, fair's fair.
What?
You did discover the hiding place after all. I suppose I should at least fill you in.
Really, Inspector? Thank you. Do it quickly, my dear fellow. If there's one thing I know about this man, it's that he blows with the wind, as fickle as the weather.
Stop making me out to be some kind of nut. There were 3 items under the floor there. A newspaper clipping, a photographic print, and a tin box.
Now, which do you want to know? Well, the clipping, I guess?
Looks like this was cut out of paper about 3 months ago. It's about a convict who got sick and died while he was serving up time in Manchester.
That's where I'm from. Wow. How terrible.
It made the headlines down here in London as well. Bloke had been sentenced to death, you see, but nature got him first.
Oh my goodness, he'd committed a capital offence.
Man by the name of Selden. Nasty piece of work into burglaries and murder. But they say that the hoard he'd knocked off was worth about £1,000.
A hoard of treasure?
Jewellery and the like, but he hid it somewhere. No one knows where. How he's dead. The papers loved it, of course. £1,000 lost en route to hell, or some such was the headline.
Does it not strike you, though, why such an article would be so carefully ensconced under the floor?
I suppose, now you mention it, it does seem a bit odd.
Yeah, you wouldn't think you'd need to hide it, really, would you?
Perhaps I'll go over the paperwork we got on Selden back at the yard and see if I can turn anything up. So, this is the photograph I found. Looks reasonably recent.
Yes, it would appear to have been taken on the street. Well, this is the guy that was in Green's room. And the gentleman on the left is Gary, the landlord, of course. But who's the young man on the right? Mr. Gary's son?
Perhaps. You can take that print if you like.
Really? Are you sure? We can presume, therefore, that the yard already knows the identity of the young fellow, that is. Ah, is that true?
Well, it's too bad if we do. Unfortunately for you lot, leaking information isn't one of my pastimes.
Well, we'll see about that in a few months, won't we? My dear Inspector, if I may be so bold as to point something out. Pastimes are for one's leisure, but this is for work.
All the more reason I'm not telling you.
A dismal failure. Yes, I heard. I wonder why a photograph was hidden under the floor. Is there anything on the back of the picture also? That's a good point. What's on the... Oh, can't look at the back of that. Should read it, though. Strangeways Prison announced the death of convicted murderer and burglar Selden by natural causes in the early hours of the morning. He'd suffered with a high fever since the end of October. Alerted by the shouts of his fellow cellmate, medical staff arrived to find him dead before his capital punishment could be carried out. Can't look at the back of this either. I mean, there's nothing obviously odd about it, so the important part must just be who's that. I mean, Mr. Shamspeare himself isn't in it. Photographic prints are still rare treasures in the East End. I imagine Mr. Gary was rather delighted to have been immortalized. He'd probably made a good present of it. Now,
this tin box looks interesting, doesn't it?
might I suggest, Inspector, that you open it? If you were to find something inside that reveals the truth behind the case, I wouldn't be in the least surprised.
Yeah, funnily enough, I've already had a look. It's completely empty.
What? Shamspeare! Give us a clue, man! You didn't even have the chance to utter a word, Naruhodo. But anyway, at least we found out what's inside the box. May I examine the box itself, though? Yes, thin air. It's empty, rather like how I feel inside. Alright, bitch. Relax. Is there nothing more to this box? I wonder. I do wish to examine the box.
Oh, it's the boy!
Oh, look! It's that lovely little kitty cat. What was its name? It's Mr. Natsume's, isn't it? Why don't we call it, Wagahai? You know, like Mr. Natsume refers to himself in Japanese. I wonder how he got in here. Clever cat. Perhaps we should have a peek-see behind this here wall? Oh, wonderful. Well then, Wagahai, here's something delicious I brought for you. What a good boy.
Oh, look at that lad.
Oh yeah, now he loafing. Hey, he couldn't be happier now, look. I just hope we can bring some happiness to his owner. Examine the cat. Oh, look at him. Oh. Yeah, oh, big stretch. Oh. That was a cheeky little meow, Wagahai. Oh, but he's so adorable. I could sit and watch him forever. I think he may not appreciate that after a while, and we have an investigation. Please examine behind this now. Yes, it is. I wish to know how the cat entered the room. Anyway, can't examine this at all, really? Y'all. Fine. No, I didn't mean to do that. Well, I guess we should go and see if Gary's here now. He's not. Okay. Let's go to her room because she had a picture of this boy. What do you suppose is happening? It sounds like some sort of disturbance. Yes, I hear angry voices. Oh. Be not hungry, O ample lady, rude. Verily thou art mistaken. Mistaken my foot, you were looking at my painting. The eye of man hath not heard, the ear of man hath not seen. 'Twas foul indeed the poison that mustached villain gaveth me. Forgive me, lady. I wish that you died from that poison. God a mercy, ample lady, but thou seest, I have vigour still. Behold my Shakespeare dance. This looks rather ominous. That is one way you could describe it. Ah, lo, 'tis the lawyer from the land whence riseth the sun. How now? What are you doing here, Shakespeare? Marry, I do believe I am returned onto another ward. He was looking, that's what he was doing, looking at my terrible work. Eastern fellow, so darky clad. Faith, thy work in court this morning was wonderful. I do applaud thee. Oh, well, thank you. But that doesn't mean that things will go so wonderfully for you tomorrow, does it? Okay. Anon! Excellent. What a prick. Shakespeare might technically be the victim in this case, but there's definitely a lot more to that man. It's very hard to pin him down. I'm so sorry. I'm such an awful person. Ah, Miss Green, is everything alright? Oh, yes, I mean, don't worry about me. They're about to discharge me, so I must get ready to leave now. Oh, I see. We're delighted that you'll soon be well enough to go home, Miss Green. Oh dear, you're too kind. I don't deserve it. Madame, I wish to speak to you about that picture. Maybe I should look at the picture first. It already was gazed upon. No need. I saw the tick, but it was too late. I'm guessing she won't let us look. I can't even attempt to look. So, are you feeling more like yourself today, Miss Green? I am, thank you. I mean, people do recover from ordeals like this, don't they? Even people like me. Well, yes, it really was an ordeal, wasn't it? As far as I was concerned, I was just walking along the snow one evening, minding my own business, and then completely out of the blue, I was struck in the back by a knife and collapsed unconscious for days. Of course, when I finally woke up again yesterday, the whole business had been cleared up. What a terrible week it's been for you. Oh no, I'm sure I'm very lucky, really. I'll look back on this fondly. Really? Anyway, I must be getting ready. Ah yes, of course. Sorry to take up your time. No, please, come back. I wish to discuss that painting. Well, not that painting, that picture. Can I at least pet the rat? The rat already had the tick. Do not insult the rat, by the way. You can do a lot worse than a rat. Susato, you apologize, then get down and shake his little grabbies so that he knows you mean it. Alright, well, that all happened. Hey, are you back yet? Prison? Okay. To be fair, I didn't actually look at anything else in this room. Maybe I should. This rounded wooden figure isn't most charming, is it? I don't think that's a decoration, Mr. Naruhodo. It's an artist's mannequin, I believe, used when practicing sketching the human form. Really? It's not exactly what you'd call a typical figure for that purpose, though, is it? Yes, I wonder who it could be modeled after. I suppose not. I confess I've never seen one quite so full-figured, fucking rude, before. Well, if you want to draw a full-figured person, it would be the right tool for the job. Seems a little weird she'd have that. It doesn't seem like she has a super high opinion of herself. Ah, looks like the patient's treatment notes. Let's see. Do not feed. What is this place, a zoo? You know, I seem to remember seeing an almost identical sign in our local park. For the pigeons, yes. This is the person, though. Poor woman, I hope she hasn't read this. Let's see. Do not permit to run around the hospital. The patient doesn't seem to be here at the moment. He or she is probably running around the hospital then. Oh dear, how worrying. What's worrying is why they haven't discharged the patient yet. All sorts of medicines in the cabinet. I'm not sure if it's safe leaving them in range of everyone like this. Yes, you're right. I can imagine if you were peckish, you might try a whole bottle or two. You might do what? If you were a little peckish? You might just start drinking chemicals? Look, eating the soap was a strange enough conclusion that we made. We shouldn't be thinking about this as well. Well, at least there seems to be a little lock to secure the cabinet doors. I don't imagine that would stop you if you were hungry. Shut the fuck up, Sasato. Hunger doesn't turn me into a criminal, you know. This one's different. Lots of bottles, aren't there? Do you think it's safe to keep them like that? If you were a patient here, I'm sure you'd take some medicine by mistake when you were half asleep. That is a worry, but at least the cabinet has a lock. Oh, I doubt you'd manage to unlock that somehow while you were half asleep. There are limits to what I can do when I'm half asleep. Alright, this has been a good talk, team. I can't say I really expected too much. God, I want it so badly. What if I examine it? Can I look at the picture and, like, click on the boy in it? No, I can't. This is the worst part about this type of game, is like, this is such an obvious thing we should ask about, and yet we are not allowed to. No, she's still got the tick. Well, where now? Sholmes is sweet again? Fuck if I know where I'm going at this point, dude. Hey, Iris. How you doing? Nope, she already had the tick on her. Like, I don't feel like there's too many more places to go, to be honest with you, you know? Yep. Shamspeare's room. Maybe he'll appear here now. No? Okay. Still can't examine that. Even though it looked like Wagahai came in from over there, you know. Oh. Are we just here to talk now? Oh, I guess. Okay, fair enough. It was quite a shock earlier today, wasn't it? When the victim himself turned up in court and took the stand. I mean, I was just surprised he wasn't there from the start. Not only that, but finding out he's actually a bare-faced gas thief as well. Yes, that was certainly a surprise to us all. For a while, it seemed as though everyone had quite forgotten about Soseki-san poisoning the tea. Careful of your phrasing, he didn't poison anything. And there's more to this Shamspeare than we know, I'm sure of it. Shamspeare certainly wasn't the noble, upstanding man everyone thought he was at first. What's become of him, actually? I was told he'd be returning to the hospital ward where he was receiving treatment. Oh, which one is that? Let me see. Ah, yes, of course. We already went to see him. We know the place, don't we? Yes, we visited Miss Green there yesterday, in the same hospital to which she was taken. Ah, yes, after Soseki-san stabbed her. Be careful of your phrasing, Naruhodo. He didn't stab anyone. Perhaps we both owe Soseki-san an apology. We already did, you know. So, we know Soseki took the tea to the victim. But as he isn't the culprit, then obviously... Yes, the poison surely wasn't in the tea. But if that's the case, how on earth did the poison get to Shamspeare's body? I'm sure we'll have find a clue at the scene. There must be something in Shamspeare's room that will help us solve the mystery. Well, naturally, Scotland Yard detectives have been over the place, but this is really awkward that this has happened in this order. Yes, We could ask him about that, Kazuma Asogi, the best friend I ever had, and a lawyer with such promise. He really saved my bacon in that horrible incident before we left. I can still picture him now, looking so fierce and determined in court. And then, after the trial, that crazy idea he came up with.
As a stowaway? Yes, you can fit inside my trunk if you curl up small enough, I'm sure. No one will know. Kazuma, why won't you tell me why? Why go to these lengths so that I can accompany you? Well, it's been on my mind ever since we got through that trial, that you really ought to go into law, be a defense lawyer. You've got a natural talent for it, believe me, I guarantee it. But I've never even thought about becoming a lawyer. Well, I can't force you, obviously. You'll have to decide for yourself. But anyway, London is the cultural capital of the world, the city at the forefront of everything. It can't hurt for you to see it with your own eyes. No, that's true. I suppose, though, if you were to become a lawyer, then one day... One day what? Oh, no. Never mind. Naruhodo-san. Oh, sorry, I was just thinking about Kazuma. Yes, he's forever in my thoughts, too. To change the Japanese judicial system for the better. That was his dream. And that's why he so desperately wanted to come to Great Britain to study. Yes, that's right. But... yes. I do wonder if his true intentions lay elsewhere sometimes. I don't know, the thought just takes hold of me every now and then, that's all. Naruhodo-san, what do you mean by Kazuma-sama's true intentions? I mean this. His katana. I never expected to inherit this sword after Kazuma passed away, of course. No, I know. It was because I asked you to take it. When I have it at my side in court, I feel as though it gives me courage. Yes. Actually, the night before he died, he told me a little about the sword. Kuruma? That's right. It's a prized sword that's been passed down through generations of the Asogi clan. A Japanese man's sword is his soul, Ryunosuke. I can't be parted from my katana. Kuruma guides me. I truly believe that. Fucking nerds. So its name compels its wielder to slice evil in two? Not that you would need much compelling. On that subject, there's something important that I have to do in Great Britain. Something you have to do? Yes. I'd appreciate you seeing it through with me. Of course I will. Whatever it is, I'll see it through to the end with you. I knew you wouldn't let me down. What did he mean by something very important? I had hoped the answer to that question would become apparent when we arrived, but as yet I have not found a single clue. I see. Good talk, team. Can I see Mr. Gary now? Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, finally. Oh, Mr. Natsume is back. So he is. Mr. Natsume, hello.
I am a cat.
Sorry.
I don't know who Mr. Natsume is, or Herlock Sholmes. I don't know anything about courts, or trials, or Old Baileys. I am a cat. That's what I am. Just a cat.
Mr. Naruhodo, he's trying to escape from reality. Trying to, he already has. So, what is your name, then?
As yet, I have no name.
Mr. Naruhodo, he hasn't fully thought through his new identity yet. Maybe it's not too late. Do you think you could open your eyes for us, Mr. Natsume?
I am not a cat.
It worked. He's back.
What's going to become of me? No, don't answer that. It's obvious. My accursed soul is never going to escape this cursed fate.
Mr. Natsume, no. This morning's proceedings in court prove there's hope.
Yes, yes. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire was brilliant. But the Reaper is omnipresent in court, in my lodgings. Here, there, everywhere.
Why is he looking straight at me for? I think perhaps there are some things we should discuss.
Oh, yes, we must. In my whole life, I have ever been so moved as I was today. No. Of course, if I cast my mind back, there were perhaps one or two other occasions that moved me more. But I just blocked those out, and today being in that courtroom was... It was the most moving experience of my life. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
You're too kind. Scotland Yard found the remaining tea, just as we deduced, and are analyzing it as we speak.
There's nothing wrong with the tea. They won't find a drop of poison in it. That's a solemn sworn Soseki certainty.
Tell me, did you both drink tea at the same time?
Oh yes, most definitely. Remember, drink tea while it's hot. We both poured it down our throats like it was a hot bath for our bellies.
And at the same time, you were both completely fine, as shown by the fact that he and Shamspear then engaged in the Juliet and Romeo match. I suppose the focus of tomorrow's proceedings will be how the poison was taken.
That rotten Shamspear! What have I ever done to him?
You don't recall him taking issue with you over anything you've recently done?
I've been holed up in my room, immersed in books. I don't recall anything, nothing at all.
Right.
But what I don't understand is why he didn't let me know sooner.
Let you know what, Mr. Natsume?
About the soap, of course. What else?
Oh dear. Are you struggling with such meager stipend?
Of course I am. If I had money, I wouldn't have chosen to live in a cursed existence in such accursed lodgings.
Ah yes, you said it's because the place is cursed and it's so cheap.
Exactly, especially the room that I rent. The spirit of that capital offender who lived there still haunts the place, and it's trying to kill me.
Capital offender?
Might I ask, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, that next time you visit me, you bring scores of super soft soaps?
So I guess I'll show you the picture. Not that one. Mr. Natsume, it doesn't look like this is not a yes sounding. Alright, do you know anything? Is this the man that was in the room or something? Wonderful.
What's this?
It's a newspaper cutting that we found in Mr. Shamspear's room.
Ah, so he knew, did he?
Sorry?
About this man, Selden. A convicted killer, the evil spirit behind the curse.
What?
He's already taken one young man's life, and now he's trying to take the life of another, a miserable mustache-macho-lined Japanese man.
Mr. Natsume, if you know something, please, you must tell us. Tell us everything you know.
The truth is, I didn't know the details myself until very recently. That Selden man was arrested about a year ago now, and at that time he was hiding out in his lodgings at Mr. Gary's house. What?
He lived there? Where you do now?
That's right, yes, exactly where I live now, in my very room.
Oh my, your room was previously occupied by a criminal? So I guess that's what, Shamspear's trying to find the money in the room or something?
But before his sentence was carried out, he died in prison. That was 3 months ago now. And that's when it started. The curse.
What really is this curse you keep mentioning?
It's already caused one death a few months after the criminal passed away in prison. A man died in that room. The man who rented it after Selden, in fact. The poor lodger, he was found dead in mysterious circumstances. The room was locked from the inside.
Locked from the inside. So that's the convict's curse, is it?
Yes. Well, that was the start of it.
Do you have any idea how that lodger passed away before you?
The official cause of death was asphyxia.
So they got choked by the gas.
When they discovered the body, the room was full of...
Yes, I see. Gas.
I only found that out after I'd signed the lease. When Mr. Gary came to tell me later, I couldn't stop myself trembling. In fact, if I'd known beforehand, I'd probably have been too scared to take the room. Landlord's lease, luckily legal.
Lucky for Gary, maybe, but not so lucky for Mr. Natsume. And now you believe the curse is affecting you.
It is. At first, I just felt as though I was being watched all the time.
And then you talked about having nightmares, didn't you?
The dead are trying to take me with them. They come for me and try to suffocate me. And just when I'm struggling to breathe, I wake up, and the room is as cold as ice.
But why is your room so cold?
London winters are too cold to bear without any heating. But for some reason, even though I light the stove before I climb into bed, the pilot light always goes out and the room fills with gas.
But that's terrible. That's exactly the same situation as what led to the previous Octagon's death. And then there's what happened to Shamspear last night when he was mysteriously poisoned. There's clearly more to that incident that can be explained by a curse, though. Whatever can be the cause of all these strange happenings? Do I really have anything else to show you? Oh, thoughts? No thoughts, head empty. You never know. Alright, I'm feeling like this is not the way to go. Can I speak to Mr. Gary now, please? Finally. Ah, you're here now, Mr. Gary. Right, bolly business is it for me, you know? Getting out and about. What, were you at the Old Bailey by any chance? Naturally, fate of my lodgings hanging in the balance and all that, not a trial to miss. The fate of what's already been dubbed your haunted lodgings, yes. Of course, the place has caused quite a stir around the capital on more than one occasion already. As the old haunted lodgings or some such. Ah, well, at least he knows. Makes you wonder what the blazes is going on, don't you know? Yes, I'm sure it does. In fact, thinking back to Mr. Natsume's other trial just 2 days ago, you were at the Old Bailey then as well, weren't you? Testifying with your wife? Stopped off at the prison on the way home, in fact. Beastly business. I see. So, what brings you to my haunted abode today, eh? So, before I do any of that, I must know. Mr. Gary, could I ask you to look at this photograph? Is that your son who's with you? Oh, no, not at all. He was a lodger here once. Duncan Ross was his name. Duncan Ross. A street photographer happened to be passing, so I asked him to take a shot. Just for kicks, really. Was he by any chance the lodger before Natsume? Yes, that's right. I don't know. Ah, the young gentleman who died in the mysterious circumstances. Just what Mr. Mustache was waiting for, one might say. Yes, young Duncan lived in the room at the top of the first flight of stairs just before the Japanese chap. Would you mind telling us a little more about him? Also, this. This is looking like a no right there. You never know. Maybe he'd have insights. What about this? Okay, fine. As I mean, that doesn't look like the picture of the other guy now, does it? Yes, Duncan Ross. Young chap was attending art school, had to work to pay for it, mind. Moved into the middle floor about a year ago, after that criminal, Selden, was arrested. Oh, of course. No, the criminal didn't die in that room. I'm getting it all twisted. Young students are always on the hunt for rooms with a history behind them. A history of cheap rent, maybe, yes. Yes, well, anyway. It was one morning about a month ago now. Hadn't quite worked out the trick of watching the gas lamps to see what my lodgers were up to at the time, so sadly I was rather tardy to discover what had happened. Smell of gas that alerted me it was. Ah, yes, synonymous with the smell of death. Called the police straight away, of course, and the officer kicked the door off its hinges. But once we all got inside, we all bolly collapsed. Because of the gas. Yes, room was full of it. No air at all. Stove must have gone out while the poor chap was sleeping in his bed. So Mr. Ross suffocated to death. Of course, the police gave me a sound ticking off because the gas pipes were so old and all that. Can't tell you how much it set me back to have the lot replaced all over the house. But even after you had all that work done, Natsume says the same thing. That the stove goes out at night whilst he's sleeping. Well, that's the bolly curse, the convict's curse. I've done my duty as a landlord now. Someone's feeling defensive. Some fishy fellow from the Far East and a failed actor chap of questionable character, eh? Yes, the house does seem to have become something of a magnet for rum fellows of late. Thanks to that bolly curse. The convict's curse, you mean? Ah, heard the stories, have you? Rotten scoundrel was arrested here, then the next chap in his room goes and keels over. Then there was that woman who dropped dead just on the street outside, not to mention the actor. Am I next, eh? Well, can't help but get the collywebs, can you? What? When you say the woman who dropped dead outside the street, you mean Miss Green? Because Miss Green, who was stabbed by the knife, and Shamspeare, who was poisoned, are both very much still alive. Yes, well, so is that blasted convict's curse, it seems. Personally, I should be quite content with such lodgings. A bath, a toilet, a fireplace, a fascinating history. Why, it sounds like the lap of luxury. I'm not sure. Well, there's no baths or toilets included, and no fireplace either. But you do look out for your tenants, don't you? By watching the rise and fall of the flames. Yes, never hurts to keep an eye on things, in any case, in case there are any mishaps or such like. I think you've had a mishap already, sir. That's not helpful, Sholmes. Heaven forgive me, the words just came to my lips. Some fishy fellow from the Far East and a failed... Oh, did I click on the wrong one? There's no need for that, Mr. Gary. That's right, Mr. Natsume is in no way fishy. He is undeniably peculiar, however. Is it right that he took the vacancy immediately after the previous tenant passed away? Yes, that's right. I asked the estate agent to find someone and he popped up the very same day. Never came across a chap so keen for a place with a background, as it were. I don't think it was the room's background he was keen on so much as the cheap rent. So, how long has Shamspeare been lodging under your roof? That failed actor chap? Let me see. Oh, of course. Yes, it's been 3 months now. Quite sure of it. Only 3 months. He's quite new here too, then. And to what do you owe your certainty in that regard, Mr. Gary, might I add? Well, it was that Selden scoundrel, as it happens. Selden, the convict, you mean. Do Selden and Shamspeare have a connection? Seems fair to assume. The moving in and out seems to have lined up roughly time-wise. That convict chap, Selden, passed away in the clink 3 months ago now, you see. Some malady or other. Yes, we've seen the report from the newspaper. Well, it was only 3 days later that tragedian showed his face, the actor fellow. Really? Yes, I remember it quite distinctly.
'Tis small, this world we inhabit. Prithee, landlord, hear my request. I, the humble Shamspear, do desire to take thy room on the middle floor, offered erewhile for rent.
Terribly sorry and whatnot, but that won't be possible. Already have a lodger on the middle floor. Ground floor room is vacant, though.
Nothing can be made of nothing. Let me repeat mine will unto thee.
Those curls must be muffling your ears. The room on the middle floor is taken. It's ground floor or nothing.
Very well, we have an accord.
Glad to hear it. Welcome to Briar Road.
Lo, a Shamspear dance to celebrate.
From what I heard in court today, it sounds like the chap was thieving gas. And he was 3 months in arrears with the rent too. Yes, the fellow. 3 months in arrears and you didn't do anything? The fellow was a volley player, all right. Thank you for your candor, Mr. Gary. We are most grateful. By way of appreciation, allow me to say 1 or 2 words. Give me my robe, put on my crown. I have immortal longings in me. What's happened to you? Shakespeare, my dear fellow, one of his most famous lines. I wish to divulge my own learning of the subject, for I have a turn for literature too, you know. Perhaps you could turn your attention to more apt lines, then. Ah, that reminds me, actually. Yes. About young Duncan, the night before the chap perished. He'd been writing a letter of affection to a young lady. A letter, you mean? A love letter, you mean? Yes, where did I put it now? Ah, here it is. Left it on my desk. If you'll excuse me. Let me see now. What does it say? To my most beautiful and charming sweetheart. Do you think that we should be reading such a personal piece of correspondence? My dear Sosato, that is precisely why I prefaced my reading with, if you'll excuse me. I will not excuse you, Sholmes, no. Sadly, he didn't address it, though, so I've no means of delivering the thing. I know who it belongs to. I see. That's going... No, not me. But really, the identity of Mr. Ross's sweetheart has no bearing on the case, that we know of yet. Because, I mean, like... We found a picture of him under the floorboards. I think we should probably investigate that a little bit more closely, actually. Yes, I suppose you're... Oh, you're also stupid. Indeed, the intended recipient's address is missing. However, there is a name attributed to the man's most beautiful and charming sweetheart. Sholmes, please, I've already had to chastise you once. My undying love to you, my colorful darling, Olive Green. Ah. Oh, Olive Green? The woman who is plunged into a coma. The victim of the last case. Yes, Whatever can this mean? We don't know yet. Reading personal correspondence can have its merits, you see, Miss Susato. Ah, ha, 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 ha. Well, thanks, buddy. We'll be leaving now. Mr. Naruhodo, I've just finished speaking with the doctor. It seems Miss Green is well enough to be discharged. This is good news, but hopefully just before she leaves. What is it? Miss Green, no! What was that? She clearly just hid something. One moment. I'll be with you in a jiffy. Oh, hello everyone. What are you doing here? The doctor has said I can be discharged, so I'm just getting my things together. Miss Green, what were you just doing? Oh, nothing, really. I was just about to take some medicine the doctor prescribed for me, that's all. Well, we were hoping to have a quick chat with you. I don't really have anything else to tell you. Alright, she's definitely behaving strangely. Let's look at the bottle. This is the bottle Miss Green was about to drink. Yes, she looked rather preoccupied. Perhaps it's very bitter. I can't stand bitter medicine. I suppose that could be it. In fact, whenever a doctor prescribes me medicine for a number of days, I always take it all at once.
You always do what? And you're still alive? Oh no! Well, if you have to take something you don't like, it's best to get it all out of the way in one go, isn't it? Bro! Oh dear, I thought it was Miss Green I should be worrying about at the moment. Snooping time. It's the card, wasn't it? Mr. Naruhodo, we shouldn't be peeking at young women's private affairs. Right, I should save peeking for gentlemen's affairs. You mustn't do that either. And maybe you, Susato, shouldn't be peeking into a man's mind. Alright. Miss Green, behold. Miss Green, we were hoping to ask you about someone. Mr. Duncan Ross. You knew him, didn't you? Fuck. Oh no, I'm so sorry. The bottle of medicine fell. Oh, Miss Green, are you all right? That was very dramatic. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to startle you like that.
No, it's all right. I just wasn't expecting it. But how do you know about Duncan?
Mr. Ross had been writing a love letter when he passed away. The landlord found it in his room. It was a very personal letter. To you.
It was at the art school. That's where I met Duncan, a year ago now. He was working to fund his studies. He dreamt of becoming a professional artist one day.
And the two of you became romantically involved?
Yes, that's right. We were very much in love. We were engaged to be married, actually. That's why he decided to move into a cheaper room, to save money for the wedding.
And that's what led him to Mr. Gary's.
Yes, he told me he'd found the worst but cheapest room in the East End. And then, 1 month ago, that's when it happened.
We're so terribly sorry, Miss Green.
Well, it's all in the past now, I suppose.
Poor Miss Green. She looks desperately sad. I was starting to think that's just her look. But now I see why she has every reason to feel the universe is against her. Let's have a gander. The bottle fell when she collapsed. That was quite an earthquake. Fucking rude. Whatever was in the bottle. Honey, maybe? I don't know about any of that. Mr. Naruhodo, you've been having a lot of very mean thoughts during this exchange. I'm disappointed in you. That's very true. Alright, fine. Keep your secrets. It's wonderful news that you're going to be discharged, Miss Green.
Oh yes, thank you. Once people are better, the hospital staff don't want them lingering and wasting space. Not people like me, anyway. So I don't think I should keep anyone waiting. I probably shouldn't stand around and chat.
She certainly doesn't seem to be in the mood to talk.
I do hope you won't think I'm being rude, but would you mind leaving me in peace now? I have to leave the hospital soon.
Oh, I'm so sorry. We didn't mean to hold you up. Of course. Mr. Naruhodo? Surely you were not about to leave. That's quite out of the question. Mr. Sholmes? I didn't know you were here. But of course I was, my dear fellow, watching intently from the shadows as always. Well, make your presence known next time. Sholmes, what's this about? Something which occurs to me with some regularity, Mr. Sato, is this. Why do detectives insist on such ex post facto modus operandi? Why solve a case after it's happened, instead of preventing a case before it happens? That is what sets a great detective apart. What do you mean? There is a case waiting to happen under our very noses, Mr. Naruhodo. So let us avert disaster. Let us prevent this case from ever happening, with nothing but careful observation. All right. All the clues you need are set before you. You need only look, and you cannot fail to see.
The rat! No! The rat! Oh, God, no! Holy shit! That's why we had it in the room? Oh, Jesus.
The mare seems to be dead. I didn't notice it there before. I think perhaps it drank the medicine that spilled out of the bottle. But that's the bottle Miss Green was about to drink. You don't think... Ah, I see you've come to appreciate the true nature of this scene. That of a tragedy about to take place. Yes, I think it's falling into place. Miss Green, the contents of the bottle you had before has spilt onto the floor, and the poor mouse that drank it sadly died. I think it's clear that bottle must have contained a powerful poison. She doesn't seem surprised. Don't worry, I will attend to the mouse presently. Miss Green, were you intending to go the same way as the rodent? To take your own life? Ah, once we'd left, you would have put your lips to it again, wouldn't you, and taken the poison? No. Miss Green, please talk to us. This is gonna be super cheerful. 10 seconds later and we would have arrived at a very different scene here. In all probability, we would not have enjoyed this most delightful conversation. Of course, perhaps it hasn't been quite so delightful from your perspective, Miss Green. Actually, in a way, now that everything's out in the open, I feel like a weight has been lifted. Tell me, how did you acquire that medicine? Well, with this being a hospital and all, when the doctor comes to examine me in the mornings, he always leaves the medicine cabinet open for a while, so I snuck this out when he wasn't looking. It conspicuously lacks a label. I wonder what it contains. I'm afraid I don't really know, but I thought if I drank it, I might just stop the pain somehow. Oh, please, Miss Green, don't talk of such things. Well, it seems clear now that it contains poison. Yes, that poor little mouse is proof of that.
Oh no, oh, it's all my fault. What have I done?
I shall remove this to my office, Miss Green. I take it you have no objection.
No, none.
So can I read the note now, too? Okay. It definitely feels as though this card must be relevant. I mean, when we first arrived, Miss Green was standing with it in her hand, in what could only be described as a tense atmosphere. Yes, it may very well be related to whatever the incident Sholmes believes was happening here. Perhaps we should ask Miss Green. Alright, I don't feel like that was necessary, but... Neither the set... Oh! It's missing. Neither the sender's name or address appears to be written on the envelope or the card.
It arrived by post at my home the day before the incident that put me in hospital.
I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on 17th. Don't tell anybody about this letter or the meeting. It is of the utmost importance. Wait a minute. The 17th of this month? That's the day that you were stabbed. Yeah, obviously. And 5 p.m. is precisely the time when the incident occurred. The Slug and Salad, yes, a pub on the northern corner of Briar Road. Briar Road being the street that Gary's house is on. Does that mean that... Yes, I'm sure you've guessed. That day when I was struck by the knife, I was actually on my way to the Slug and Salad. Goodness. Sorry, I am thirsty. So that's what you were doing on Briar Road. I'm sorry I didn't say anything before. I think I really will have to ask you to excuse me now. I've told you everything. Yes, I'm very sorry to have had to drag up such painful memories.
No, it's fine.
Miss Green, please promise us you won't try to do anything like that again.
Yes, don't worry. Your detective friend has the bottle now anyway. And besides, I've been stabbed in the back and had a close shave with a bottle of poison, and I'm still here. I think I'm destined to see things through to the end. It might sound a little conceited, but, well, that's how all this was made me feel.
Leaving Miss Green and St. Bartholomew's behind, we made our way back to Baker Street with Mr. Sholmes. Well, it would appear we've reached the end of the investigative trail for today. Yes, it's late. And, Mr. Naruhodo, did you discover anything that may be of use to you tomorrow? I certainly hope so. There are so many facets to this case, and we're yet to see to the heart of it, if you ask me. That's my feeling, anyway. I can't help wondering about the results of the analysis into Natsume's tea. Yeah, I wonder if that's going to be really awkward, and we're going to need to use Sholmes' invention to prove it would be too expensive for Natsume or some shit. Well, I fear that either way, it will be hard to escape the grip of our friend, Mr. Reaper. Oh dear. Yes, Barak von Zykes. But I wish you every success, of course. And though I was late to rise this morning, tomorrow will be a new dawn. I intend to spring from my bed at a crisp hour and attend the trial. Sholmes, you're going to come? Indeed. Whatever happens, I shall be there, assuming my eyelids cooperate. Well, I think we've done all we can. All that's left is to remain focused and keep fighting till the very end. London, the world's most prosperous city, home to 6 million people, but away from the razzle-dazzle back-down alleys and behind bricked-up windows, the lonely lurk. Soseki-san had battled long and hard with loneliness during his many months here, and so I felt honor-bound to battle equally hard for my compatriot, to lift the curse that gripped him. As Sholmes said, tomorrow would be a new dawn for all of us. Nerd.